Hi, everyone. Welcome to Life Edge, because life just shouldn't be mediocre. I am joined today by Dr. Susan Nash, someone who's not mediocre, and a whole lot of fun to be with. Susan, how are you?
Great. A little bit cold. It's like 27 degrees there, but
27.
it's supposed to be 70 this weekend.
You're 27?
Yeah, so.
Oh, that is cold. And I'm complaining that we're 66. Wow. I think it was 66
Great.
today. And at night, we're in the 40s right now. But we were in the 30s last week, if that makes it better.
That's nice.
But at night. But in the daytime, we were 60s, maybe 70. It's been really weird. But 8% humidity, 4% humidity. Now today we're 80.
Dry.
Yeah, our sinuses are insane out here. Anyway, we had a guest today. Unfortunately, he could not make it. So Susan and I are going to be talking about something that may affect all of us, and I think is already indirectly, the coronavirus, or now it's called the COVID-19 virus. That's the new name,
Yes.
COVID-19. How does that sound? Yeah, they didn't want to call it the Chinese virus because that's what everybody was calling it. They're going to call it that. It's bad. It's bad. Apple, they said, is losing how much? 1 million phones a day, and so that's about how many they make per day. It's an amazing. Foxconn's been closed for I think 2 weeks. Not good.
It's terrible. I mean, the supply chain. I mean, we're going to start seeing huge problems. The first thing we saw were shortages of like medical equipment and personal protective equipment.
I know.
But then the Hyundai factory had to shut down.
Yeah, they brought people back. But before we go on, let's run the intro. And by the way, Harold Muliati is joining us. He is running the Video Switcher Mixer, and he'll be jumping in here and there. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation at www.relate.com, your training and video partner. And we are back. That was Harold singing the intro. He had 400 voices of himself. It was great. Anyway,
I don't know if
scary.
that's true or not.
No, it's not. I'm just joking. It is scary, though, when you think about it. If you look back at the Middle Ages, where what killed everybody in the Middle Ages? I'm sure you know, and it's really amazing what actually it was the. Well, I'll tell you. Our daughter came home one day from school, and she goes, "We learned about the Bubonic Plague." I go, "The Bubonic Plague? What the heck is the Bubonic Plague?" And then my wife says, "You mean the Bubonic Plague?" She goes, "Whatever." This is a June. That was when she was in junior high. I was going, oh gosh. And anyway, it's like the bubonic plague. It was horrible. They couldn't figure out how to stop it until one thing happened. Do you remember what that was?
I don't remember. I read
It's fascinating.
Diamonds, germs, guns, and steel.
Yeah,
but I
they
haven't.
opened the windows at night. They were all locked up. They thought locking it up would get rid of the virus, and it killed everybody. The minute they started opening up the windows and door, all of a sudden they had fresh air, and the virus took care of itself. It's amazing.
Well, what's interesting about that is that's when they believed in miasma and night air and being so dangerous. And then we all said, "Oh, scoff, that can't happen. Bad smells can't hurt you."
Right.
And now we're seeing that, for example, with the coronavirus, measles, it aerosolizes. And the particles can stay in the sort of miasmic cloud if there's no wind for like 4 to 6 hours in one place. So if you walk through it, you basically get infected, especially if you breathe.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
Right. So then that the whole idea of miasmas, it was based probably on some sort of observational experience on maybe some other sort of sickness or something like that. I guess that means, maybe it wasn't totally just pulled out of thin air.
No, but nobody also knew anything about germs and transmission in those days.
But it turns out they were kind of right in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Harold, that they observed it in this cause and effect. We just don't know exactly which. Right. thing.
And then moving further, we were talking a little bit pre-show about this, the Spanish flu, or influenza, like they called it. That that wasn't that long ago, about 100 years, and that took out 50 million people worldwide.
Well, my grandmother's a nurse, and she constantly told me about the influenza outbreak. And she said that they lived in West Texas, near Stamford, Texas, which is near Abilene.
Yeah. And
it was in December, and she said her dad had been out riding in the rain, got caught in a rainstorm, and came back wet. And his daughter, I guess Goldie, was 15. Within like 2 days, they were dead. And he was 39.
That quick?
Yeah.
Jeez.
That quick. And then she almost died.
What was the specific Spanish flu? Was it also a coronavirus, or was it something different?
They found that it was H1N1. I was watching a video where they actually found some DNA, and they resurrected the Spanish flu, and they found it was H1N1, but like
that's a bird flu, right?
Hog flu, and they think it came from Kansas. Yeah.
From where? Canton?
Kansas.
Kansas.
Oh, Kansas.
Okay. Kansas. They said that what happened is that there was some kind of outbreak with swine flu, which jumped to people, and then they were completely overcrowded in getting ready to ship off troops to World War I, and they had like 100 or 50,000 people just in tight quarters and just all crammed together, and they got sick. They stayed sick, and then they put them in the ship sick.
Wow. Yeah. Jeez. 50 million people. How many people were affected in the U.S., do you know?
Well, Philadelphia was probably the place that was worst, and it was so bad that there was something actually staggering. I mean, like maybe 300,000 died just in Philadelphia.
And that time, that was a lot of people.
Jeez.
Yeah, just in the city. Well, maybe not 300,000. It was something enormous. It's like 1 out of 7 or 8 people. In fact, there's a novel written by the same author who wrote Ship of Fools. Her name is Catherine Ann Porter. She wrote about having the Spanish flu in Denver, and it's called Pale Horse.
Now, how many people? Not a lot of people recovered from it, right?
Some of the people did, but it was very difficult because the doctors and nurses got sick, and they were in Philadelphia. It was particularly bad because they were having a war bonds thing, and everybody came out. It was crowded, and then they had insufficient hygiene. Actually, would like hot bunk beds and stuff, so people would like take shifts.
Wow.
Okay.
And what's going on with this particular virus? You didn't freeze, did you? No, you're there. Okay.
No, I just froze.
I thought it froze for a second. The scary thing about this one is because we are now, quote unquote, a very globalized society, and pretty much everyone has agreed to make China the manufacturing capital of the world. This is what happens. Right now, there's a lot of airlines that have stopped picking up or sending people to China. They're picking up non-Chinese to take them back home. In other words, like Hyundai took their employees back home. Other companies took from the U.S. and other places, Canada, have taken their employees back home that were non-Chinese. And they're allowing those, but they're putting them into 2 weeks quarantine many times to protect themselves and the people that they're bringing over. The interesting thing is, now, one thing, a lot of people are afraid that if I'm on an airplane, am I going to die? No, you're not going to die. First of all, viruses on airplanes don't reproduce anywhere as quickly as viruses on the ground. Part of that is because the air on an airplane is extremely dry, usually 4%. That's not enough to keep viruses alive, or at least to hang out very long. They said the only people who may be affected, if you happen to be near somebody who has it, maybe 2 rows in front, 2 rows behind, and maybe next to you, but that's about it. Now, of course, if you have it, those people could spread it, but not there. Maybe, I think it takes 2 weeks to incubate, 1 or 2 weeks.
Well, and the thing is they're claiming that the virus lives from 5 to 9 days on surfaces. But I think that if that were really the case, the world would be already affected dramatically because of all the airplane traffic.
Wait, how many days? That's
5 to 9.
That's really long for a virus. That seems kind of odd.
Unless it is a weaponized virus that got out by accident. So that's possible, but I doubt it.
It's a Godzilla movie.
It's a Godzilla movie. We need Against All Monsters. Where's Rodan and Ghidra? Come on. Mothra. Let's not forget Mothra and the 2 little twins. So, oh gosh.
This is off the subject. In Albany, they have a performing arts center that's called the Egg, and I just so wish that they would do a calendar that had like poking out of the egg, and then Rodan gets flying over.
Those are the good old days. And they've made. I thought I grew up with the Godzilla movies, and I thought they were done after like 2 or 3. I don't know. There's like 20 movies on Godzilla. It hasn't ended. He's still there. He's killing things. But the sad thing is, because of globalization, because of our dependence on manufacturing in China for many different products, companies like Apple are really shutting down production lines right now. Foxconn, which is what they use to make the phones, I think has been closed almost 2 weeks. And they're saying that's about 1 million phones a day they're not making. It's a lot of phones. And Foxconn is like a 2-mile long building. It's enormous. And that's just Apple. There's other companies that are shutting. And they said 25 cities are quarantined right now. So that's a lot of cities. Some of them are much smaller than, I think it was Wuhan, I think is the name of the city. But that's a lot of quarantine of manufacturing plants, distribution plants, without FedEx and everybody going and taking, they don't take people, they take cargo. But I don't know what their state is. Are they picking up cargo? I don't know. I haven't read about that. Nobody's talking about cargo, but definitely planes, regular planes are not picking up other than people that they're putting into quarantine immediately. So definitely.
Well, I see a big jump in robotics. I mean, if anything that can be avoiding handling, and they can be moved remotely.
But I'm not sure.
You have to that they build that stuff. And it's like, I think, but to your point, wow, the supply chain impact is going to be dramatic. The only thing that could potentially have a silver lining is that many companies had already put additional and Korean and
Japan. But it's interesting because a lot of the supply chain is hurting the malls. That's what I've been reading about. Some economists are saying the malls are already kind of in a bad state. If you look at what's been going on with malls around the country, all over the country, there's somewhere between a 10 and 20% occupancy rate. That's high for a mall. We have one mall not far from where we are, which is at over 50% occupancy rate or non-occupancy rate. That's nothing. I mean, that's a major problem. And malls, so these are big malls in California. Some other ones around the country are half empty, a quarter empty. We're already suffering in retail. And you add this, where now people may not be getting supplies. Fry's Electronics. We have one in the city named Oxnard, not far from us. I don't know how they are now. We haven't been there in about a month and a half. They had no inventory. Their supply chain died. And this is even before the virus. They couldn't get enough inventory out because of tariffs and other problems. And as a result, we don't know what state they're in. They may close, they may not close. That was a great electronics place we used to go to all the time because you can buy components, build things there. They had everything.
Speaking of Oxnard has strawberries. I remember
they do. We have the strawberry festival there every year.
That's where just about all of the strawberries come from.
Yep. And but some places, there's a lot of just vacancies in places. They're closing 2 malls in Oxnard, one in Oxnard and one in Ventura, the city next door. These aren't small malls. Right. They're not working. It's just they're having problems. And Thousand Oaks Mall, I'd say, is probably about 15-20% empty now. And we're going, that's a big mall. It's a popular mall. I haven't been to our Topanga Canyon Mall, which is very big. That I bet you has closings too. So things are going bad anyway in that part of the economy. A lot of it has to do with tariffs. I'm not against Trump, but I'm also not for. I don't think tariffs have ever worked. It's a measure. It can work to force a country to negotiate with you, like China. But it's also really tough on the country issuing the tariff. It doesn't promote good business. It promotes.
It's inflationary.
It is very inflationary. And I don't think in the U.S. we ever got past 20% inflation back in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. I lived in 500 to almost 1,000% inflation in Argentina for 3 years. It was rough.
Oh, wow.
Because they were having major. Israel, I remember, had over 1,000% hyperinflation at one point. Anybody who's ever lived through inflation, you just go, oh my gosh. You wake up in the morning, you go shopping, and you see a pair of jeans, for example, and it says $25. You go in the afternoon, it's now $50. And your salary hasn't gone up that much. Nothing's changed. But all the things you're trying to buy have now gone up double, triple, quadruple in price. And over a very short period, within a week, it quadruple. And what do? Retail dies. The people can't buy things. It becomes a horrific, vicious cycle. And I think that's my concern when we started issuing tariffs. I understand the China negotiations. That's been a problem for a long time. But tariffs, yes, bring people to the table, but hurt other people at the same time. So it's an austerity measure on us, and it's a tough measure on, let's say, the Chinese or whoever. We have tariffs on other people too, and as a result, we pay more for things. That makes inflation, among other things, and I don't think that's a win-win. I think right now we're kind of in a lose-lose situation when it comes to that.
And the Chinese they've been contributing a tremendous amount to world tourism. And
yes.
There are a lot of countries that depend on Chinese tourists now.
That's true.
Right.
And right now, with this, tourism has died right now. It's gone. Nobody's being allowed out except the refugees from foreign companies who are working there. It is a massive problem, and it's hitting, and I don't know how much it's spread in China. The facts are hard to really gauge. Nobody knows what the real truth is, but it's not good. It's definitely a problem, and I think they're trying their best to get their a handle on it, because it doesn't benefit them at all to have this situation. Boy, doesn't it benefit. It's like the worst time possible to have it.
No.
And
right.
I heard I think American Airlines asking half their employees to take a voluntary furlough without pay because they can't afford to pay everybody because of all the cuts. That's pretty serious.
Really?
Yeah, they had to cut 10,000. I think American alone had, I forgot how many thousands of flights. That's a lot of money they can't make. That's a lot of expensive equipment. Yeah.
Yeah, those are high margin flights.
The high margin, and they're paying a large number. The pilots make good money. The flight attendants make good money. Mechanics, we're not working those people right now. They're either paying them based on union rules or whatever they have, but that ends after a while. So it is a problem. The flu's not, I think, attacking us right now in any which way, and it may not. Or if it does, it probably won't be that severe.
The flu is, but not that. Yeah, the flu's been bad this year.
No, but the economy, this could hurt. It could hurt a lot. It's already hurting certain industries, and retail is one of them. Airlines is another. Tourism, cargo ships aren't coming in as quickly as they were, and now they're checking them for viruses. So that's slowing down cargo getting off of ships.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We're just seeing the beginning of it. And it's interesting, too, that if you think about how people think with the reptilian brain versus the frontal cortex.
Yeah.
Carl can talk about this a little bit. I think he's read about thinking fast and slow. But what happens is that when we're triggered, it overwhelms our frontal cortex. We're not rational.
No. It's the mob mentality.
Yeah. Harold, you talked about this one time. Yeah.
Did I? Well, I mean, it also reminds me of a few of the guests we've on had talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but basically just when people when people's basic needs are kind of in jeopardy, then they're not thinking about the bigger picture and they're not thinking about the more abstract things. So just if people are panicking for their basic needs and they're not getting those fulfilled and they're worried about their health and that sort of thing, then it's just going to affect a lot of the larger scale things. And with like Rick was saying before, because of how globalized we are, then there's so many systems that are intertwined that even if we don't necessarily think of certain things happening, like certain functions, certain organizations in China that might be affected in their basic functions by just people not going to work. It's kind of hard to predict the kind of domino effect that could have of this, because that doesn't work, then this doesn't work. Maybe.
Well, also as an ex-IT professional, I look at globalism as a single source situation, which is risky. We should be distributing our supply chain. It's all in one spot, or mostly in one spot. So even the Chinese are trying to develop Africa right now so that they can have an alternate workforce in case things like this do happen. And that's smart. They're trying to distribute their labor force as well as their supply chain. We haven't really done that.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're not doing that. We're just sitting back going, cool. It's like, no, wake up. It's like, it's not so cool if you can't afford to buy anything.
What's trending on YouTube?
Yeah, what's trending? Hey, what is trending on YouTube?
What cat video is there?
Yeah, you see any trending on YouTube
I'm not
right now?
sure.
He's going to go check.
If I go
enormously
to YouTube,
fat chihuahua.
Yeah.
Then what is the... Okay, so going to YouTube on a private browser, so that's not getting our personal browsing data, the first thing it recommends is a video where a NASA astronaut explains how hygiene is different in space.
Gross.
Well, I guess this is what they decided has the widest appeal.
NASA's looking at you on that one. Your Mars trip may be in jeopardy.
It's depressing.
But no, there are things right now so the virus is nothing but a wake-up call. If you think about it, it's a wake-up call for distributors, for manufacturers, for economists to start saying, whoa, we've got everything, all of our eggs in one basket right now, maybe two. I mean, you've got India, you've got China. They're very large suppliers of things. For example, did you know that India is the world's largest clothing manufacturer or supplier? Almost all jeans come from India. Almost all clothing comes from India. So they don't get they don't advertise a lot, but that's where most of they do a ton of distribution. Chinese, mostly electronics and other things, but it's amazing. So you've got a large concentration of items being manufactured in two countries, the two large countries with a large population. But there's not enough. If the supply chain crashes in one or the other, there's not enough manufacturing out there to be able to take up the slack. And I think that's the biggest problem.
And if I had to forage for food out there, or even in my own home, I'd come up with maybe a couple of packs of peanuts and then some roots and bark out of my garden.
And then, of course, we have the other problem. The minute people perceive anything going wrong, this is not, frontal lobes be damned. We're not thinking now. They do rushes on all the supermarkets, so there's no food left.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
It's also kind of like, when people see in the news that there's, some sort of trouble in the financial sector, that there's going to be an economic downturn, suddenly, so a huge number of people go and start trying to take all their money out of the bank in cash, and our banks just don't work that way, and so that can actually cause huge bad things to happen.
Yeah, it just trickles.
From the last time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, last time I don't even know what to do with the cash I got out last time. I'm just sitting there going, why do I have all this cash? Because I got panicky. And now I can't spend it really. I mean, it's not that much, but.
Yeah, but it's true. People are worrying, and, it's interesting. So this is just the beginning. So this has only been, 2 weeks already?
Yeah.
We're going to find out a lot more soon, and within a month we should have a really good handle on where we are, what's going on, and how much the virus is actually spreading.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing I find a little disquieting is that a lot of the information that's out about it right now, as far as, incubation period, transmissibility, how long it survives outside of the body, a lot of that is based on prior research on other types of coronavirus rather than this specific one. So it may or may not be accurate, and people might be panicking about something that's not even, reliable information.
Right.
We don't know.
Well, now that we've terrified all of you, we hope you have a really nice weekend. Don't be afraid. You know what? It hasn't happened yet. You have to keep your eyes open, ears open. Don't panic. Just pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on. Keep focused. Don't also trust everything you hear on the news, because they have their own agenda, and it's not always in your best interest, whoever you are. But keep in mind, numbers are evanescent. Nobody knows what the real numbers are. Nobody knows how far it's gotten or how far it's going. We don't know yet. Nobody really knows. But the World Health Organization and a lot of the groups here, the Center for Disease Control, they seem to be acting okay right now in terms of they're planning well. The airlines are really doing a pretty good job trying to keep certain people quarantined until they can figure out, are they carriers or not. So that all helps. It's just a question of seeing what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really admire the organization and the attitude of the people. I mean, they are working together and reading and cooperating and heartening, and also it seems that people are getting better.
Yeah, if you ever want to read a really good series of books, I think it was a 3-title one. It's by A.G. Riddle, A.G. Riddle, R-I-D-D-L-E. And it's called The Pandemic series. Excellent. He knows a ton about pandemics. He's written many things which have to do with pandemics. And this particular one is a major pandemic that hits the U.S. and the world, and how the CDC takes over, how the people get relocated to camps. It's pretty extreme. But it's really a fascinating book, because these are things that are planned in case.
What do they use Rex 84 in that?
What's Rex 84?
I'm not sure if they. I'm trying to remember if
I think Rex 84, if I recall correctly, is the one that allows FEMA, in the event of a national emergency, to basically take control of anything they need to, like vehicles.
Pretty much.
Sort of
This pretty much, and I don't remember if they actually said Rex 84, but it was something similar, and they put people in big.
Hey, Harold.
I didn't catch that.
Harold, do you like to play Resident Evil?
I haven't played it actually. I know of it, but I haven't played any of them.
Harold is the Resident Evil.
Watch my son play it, and I thought, hey, let's get practice.
Let's get practice. Yeah, but seriously, buy that book. They're really a great series, and plus it's good characters. One's a doctor at the CDC and how she reacts, and other people. It's really well done. It's the Pandemic Trilogy or whatever by A.G. Riddle. Love them. They were really, really good books.
Thank you.
And a fast read too. I mean, you just can't put them down. They're really interesting. And it could happen. You never know. They've been threatening a pandemic long enough, talking about it. You never know. Hopefully not, but we do live in a crazy world, so we'll have to see. And either way, it's something we'll keep on top of. And next week we're going to have Larry Davis on, talking about pandemics and the economic impact and everything else. So that'll be quite interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's good. Well, if you're watching the show, please subscribe. Tell us what you think. Get in contact with the guests we have. Let us know what you think about this pandemic or possible pandemic. I think I don't know if we're at pandemic level yet, but we're definitely at a small epidemic level. We'll see.
And if you're concerned, wash your hands. Don't pick your nose in public. Don't put your hand in your mouth in public. Don't touch your eyes in public.
Yeah. Keep your eyes closed. Anyway, have a good one, everyone. We will see you next week. We'll have Larry Davis on and talk about some of the other impacts from an economical point of view. Take care, everyone. Have a good one. Thanks, Susan. Harold.
Thank you. Thanks.